Hey James, EagleBallistics. I'm going to give you an overview of the EagleBallistics app, mainly because a lot of things have changed in the last year and a half since we released it to the public. And first and foremost, when you download the app, it's going to ask you for a lot of permissions. Give it the permissions it asks for. There's a reason we do that, like using location and tracking when you're tracking with the app open so it knows where you're standing at for the shot and just little things like that. All right, first of all, when you first download it, click the settings in the bottom right, and the grocery cart in the upper left is where you click on it to purchase whatever you want to get as far as a subscription. The long range is $24.99, and that's going to allow you to go pretty much as far as you want or until you run out of velocity. And then the PRS is going to give you multi-targets and some other stuff. Nobody really buys the light, but that's up to you. And if you're concerned about it, just go monthly and then try it for a month for like $5, and then if you don't like it, unsubscribe. You'll never not like it. One thing I want to hit, a lot of guys don't realize, in the upper right hand corner of the app is a question mark to tell you everything that's going on that page if you have any questions. So let me hit back again. All right, and this is called the HUD, or the heads up display. Sorry, I'm down in my basement here. Okay, first and foremost, once you get the subscription, then you can use it past 100 yards. It's only good for 100 yards without, a subscription. Go to the settings in the bottom right. It's going to automatically probably default to basic. And if you're a basic user, you can stay here. It gives you minimal inputs to build a gun profile. But I'm going to click on advanced because we're advanced users. Click on a folder in the upper left. This is where you build all your gun profiles. You can see how many I got. Let me get rid of some of this garbage. You'll see that if I click on a certain gun profile, it highlights it in gray. That's the one you're working on. To get rid of one like this video, slide it left and make it go away. To add a new gun profile, hit the plus and it drops in automatically. Oop, I pushed the wrong button. Plus, and you'll see it says unnamed 308. If I want to make a copy of a profile, I can, let's say the 8 twist, I can hit copy, 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 and it drops in, and that's that 2 pieces of paper up top, multiple copies, so I can sit there, and again, if I want to have one gun with 3 or 4 different bullets in it. All right, so now that I'm good, I'm going to go ahead and click on unnamed. We'll make sure it's highlighted, the unnamed 308 in gray. Hit settings, and this is where I start building a gun profile. Now this video is not about building a gun profile, but I'm going to briefly, quickly go over it. Name the gun, name. Click on the barrel twist, negative for left hand, right is positive. Hit that, hit set. Next, MOA or mil, depends on what you're using. Scope height, there's a ruler. Click on the ruler, lay it right up against your scope, and then pull the bottom one down to center of your firing pin hole, and that is your scope height. Scope correction factor, I already built it in here, so there's a calculator. Tell it how far you did the test, how many mils or MOA you dialed, and it'll tell you exactly what's 1,000 yards. Let's try 100, that might be more. It says that our 2 bullets of impact, if I'm doing a tall target test, should have moved 31.42 inches, put in the actual 31.5, hit set, and it says your scope tracks 0.9973, hit set. The library, by the way, I've broken this down into blocks. Block 1's about your rifle and scope, block 2 is about your bullet, and block 3 is basically about your zero. Click on the book. Select ammunition. Let's say it's Hornady ammo. We're shooting a 264 caliber and a 140 ELD match. It drops in a nominal ballistic coefficient. Now, I've used ballistic coefficients from Hornady when I initially put these in, but a lot of these I've already trued, so they're pretty close to my guns. Remember, every gun produces its own BC. If I want to calculate the BC, click on the crosshair next to it. Tell it how far you did the test. Again, this is not a video on this. It says we should have dialed 23.82 minutes to hit that 1,000-yard target. Let's say it really took us 24 minutes. Hit set. It says my BC is 1.44 Mach, or the BC is 3 point, speak English today, 0.3002. Hit set. I've just trued my BC that fast. Zero block. This is where you put in your zero range, your zero height, and your zero offset. If you have a perfect zero, leave everything at 0 except for the range. You can lay this against the target and measure your group to where you're aiming at, and it'll drop it in there. Once you've zeroed your gun, this is very important. When you put the velocity in from a chronograph, don't true your velocities. use a chronograph, then turn on zero scope angle lock. All right. Now I've got a video on this and why this is important, but I want to say this again. If you get a new velocity, let's say your gun speeds up, you change ammunition, then you need to unlock this and relock it with the new velocity. Okay. At this point, we are finished. Let's move over to the little binocular looking thing called devices. This is where you would connect a rangefinder. Where you would connect a Calypso, you would connect a Kestrel, you would connect a Weatherflow. This is where you connect your Bluetooth devices, okay? Range card's very simple. It's a range card. Whatever distance you have in your HUD, click on it. There's a range card. You can do it in 10 yards, 50 yards, 25 yards. It's got a wind card to give you left and right wind. Detail is going to break down the entire flight path of your bullet. For instance, it's saying that we've got 1.89 inches of Coriolis, 38 inches of wind deflection, and 6.47 inches of spin drift. Okay. HUD, back to the HUD. So on the HUD, you've got a valley and canyon. Again, I've got videos on this. You're going to run it on normal most of the time. There's a manual and meter. Meter is when you connect a wind meter to this, you leave that turned on. You're not going to see rain and mirage because that is only what my students get. Go back to manual. You'll notice next to the 1,000 yard, I can type in, say, 962 yards set. There's a button called inclination and azimuth. Anything that's highlighted in light gray is selectable. If I push on it, it's going to take my camera and set the camera to straight 10 power. This is where I get my compass and my inclination. Hit set both. You've just grabbed your compass and inclination. All right, wind direction. If I'm doing it manually, push, drag it to wherever you want. Wind's coming from 1030, hit set. Type in the wind speed, 36 mile an hour, hit set. You see it's telling me to dial 24 minutes up and left 15.9 minutes. All right, I'm going to leave this alone and let's move up to the upper portion, the gear in the upper left. The gear in the upper left is where you decide what the HUD looks like. If I want to see valley and canyon winds, turn them on. If I want to show temperature and pressure, turn them on. Moving targets, turn it on. By the way, max ord units, it's going to default at MOA or mil, depends on what you have it set at. I want to see that in feet. So now when I go to my HUD, it's got a mover. If I say I got a mover at 2 miles an hour, there's my lead. And I've also got my wind. And it says we have 1,624 feet per second left. We have a max ordinate of 6.8 feet above line of sight with an apex of 534. 24 foot-pounds, I can still speak English, 820 foot-pounds of energy, and it's taken the bullet 1.3 seconds to get to the target. Okay, so all your data is right here. Once you program the gun, build the gun profile, bottom line is you will stay in the HUD. There's no reason to go back to the settings unless you have to change something. All right, real quick again, I'm going to go back to the settings, and I want to show you the manage block is what we use here in class. So don't worry about the serial number. Every app has an individual serial number. I have 10 patent pendings inside of this app with one full patent, and I've got every app serial numbered. All right, the QR code next to it is what I use for my students. All right, moving down the other block, make sure that use online weather is selected, use device location is selected, use device pressure is selected. Online weather, as soon as you open the app, if you have cell service, it's going to grab the nearest weather station for temperature and humidity only. The app is reading from the phone pressure. All right. Google Maps or Mill GPS for the mapping, and I've got a whole video on that. Imperial metric. All right, moving up is HUD settings. You can set your HUD settings from here. Matter of fact, let's turn off moving targets, and we're good there. Okay. I'm not going to go over the rest of the stuff in here at this point. As you can see on location, it's grabbing the declination, inclination, longitude, and latitude that you're standing at. All right, that is an overview of Eagle Ballistics. Now let's talk about the PRS version. Settings, upper left, click on multi-target, back, and this has 6 targets. All right, if I want to build continuous stages, click on the folder, hit the plus sign, and there's stage 1, there's stage 2, and these are all the targets. It doesn't really matter because you can add the targets from the screen. Hit back, stage 1, slide it, stage 2, 3, 4. Now you see how this one doesn't have any targets. Tap next to it, boom, 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 and there's your targets. Now, one thing that has happened since we added 6 targets, so some folks have mentioned that the numbers are jumbled together because it's a small space for 6 targets. But if you go to your app, go to your settings, you're going to go down to display, which I think is under, yep, display and brightness. Make sure that you don't have bold text turned on. Make sure it's turned off. And you can adjust your text size if you need to. And that way it's not all jumbled up, okay? I've got a whole video on this, so I'm not going to go over really how to use the PRS stage. So I'm going to get out of that and hit single. Again, you will not see this if you just get the long range version. You're just going to have the single HUD. All right, let me decrease this wind a little bit. All right, a bunch of other tools that are in here. Excuse me, I've had this cough for about 2-3 weeks. If I click on wind speed and there's a upper left, there's a screen that looks like 2 TV sets. Click on it. Hit start. If I have a wind meter hooked up, it's going to average out the wind speed. Hit set, and it'll drop it in. Of course, nothing happened because I don't have a wind meter hooked up. Let me get out of that. Anytime you click a flip screen, click it to get out of it. Otherwise, you're going to be confused why you can't see anything. All right, that is a very fast, sorry so fast, but long videos suck. All right, overview of the app, okay? Now, the last thing I want to talk about is saving your gun profiles. Go back to settings, click on your folder in the upper left. You'll notice, again, there's a question mark, but next to it is a grid. Click on the grid. You can either email this to yourself, send it to somebody through a text, or click the QR code. That's every rifle that's in my ballistic solver. I can screen grab it, save it, or email it to myself in case your phone ever takes a dump on you. Something happens, you don't lose your gun profiles. All right, last thing I want to say, and then I'll go ahead and shut up in color. I get emails or phone calls or texts from people all the time, and they're saying, hey, I trued my BCs at 1,000 yards. I came back to 300, and I was about a 1/10 mil low or quarter minute low, and then at 600 and 700 yards, I was great. And I'm going to tell you the same thing I've told them, and 100% of the time, it's an error on our part. Number one, your zero changed. Number two is your velocities changed. Either they didn't re-velocity their gun or they got a different lot number of ammunition, but 9, 10 times out of 10, refix your zero. Your zero's off, quarter inch, whatever it is, 1/10 mil. Once you do that, go back into settings, unlock and relock the zero scope angle. If you change velocities, unlock and relock, everything will line up. This app is so powerful, when it finds your BC, it finds it. But a minor mistake on your part, normally because of a zero or a velocity change, is going to throw everything off a 1/10 mil or quarter minute, okay? All right, hopefully this makes sense. Sorry for the long video, try to make it quick. And you know me, if I make a mistake, I keep going. All right, thanks for watching. James, Eagle Ballistics.